Hi, welcome to this lesson. So now we're going to be talking about customers in the business model canvas, who they are and why they're important. So the first thing that you need to think about is who are your customers, and that is really who are you creating something of value for. Now, most of the time, the way that we think about it, customers are people who pay for something. But in many of the modern business models that we use on the internet, this isn't necessarily true. Google, for example, has millions of us as customers using its search engines. We don't pay for the search engines, but Google still creates value for us. So the first question you need to ask yourself is, who are you creating value for? The second question is, who are your most important customers? Now, a lot of my clients sort of come to me and say, Dennis, I'm targeting the mass market, or I'm targeting women, or I'm targeting between 18 and 25, millennials, or something. And it's true. Those groups of people could all be your customers. Everybody in the group could be your customer. But realistically, certain segments of that group are going to be your most important customers. Yeah, people between 18 and 20 may buy 80% of your products. The 20 to 25 may buy the remaining 20%. Yes, women may be the people who you're targeting, but it may be sort of married women who have a much higher conversion rate. So it's very important for you to be clear who your most important customers are. So when we start off, we need to be very clear. We need customers to make money. Now, I know that sounds really, really obvious, but it's amazing how many startups get focused on the process, the technology, the development, and they forget that they actually need customers. And it's also important to understand that there are a lot of people out there who we do not want as customers. Many people, say at the premium end, sort of Gucci or Tiffany's in jewellery, they do not want people who are looking for bargains as customers. They want people who fundamentally do not care about the price of the goods, or they care about the price of the goods as a status symbol. Whereas other people, H. Samuels, a British jeweller now bankrupt, famously said that his customers are real skinflins. I think he actually said, my jewellery is crap and it doesn't last as long as a prawn sandwich, something similar. He was targeting in a very different place, and he didn't really want the very expensive customers, and as it turned out, he didn't actually want any customers at all because everybody abandoned him shortly after that. So be very clear who you don't want as customers, and then work out who are the customers that are going to be in all your different segments. In most business models that I work on, it's generally best that you're focusing on 2 or 3 segments, yes? Because as a startup, you've got limited resources. You've got, more than anything else, you've got limited amounts of your own time. And focusing on different segments takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of coordination. It's far better to laser focus in on one group and validate that, and if they don't work, move on to something else, rather than spreading your attention over lots of different segments. There are models, of course, where that's wrong. So if you've got two-sided marketplaces, again, let's use Google as an example, where you've got the search people who your free customers, and then you've got your advertisers who are actually subsidizing the people doing search. You've got 2 customer segments, and in that case, you need to put a lot of effort into developing both segments. But generally, keep your segments as focused and as narrow and as few in number as possible. So when you look at segments, there are a number of different types of segmenting customers. And just to be clear, when I say segmenting, what I mean is dividing a larger group of people up into smaller sections who it's easier for you to identify and target. Now, the first type of segment is going for the mass market, and where you're really not too worried about the differences between people, because pretty much everybody needs something similar. So if you're an electricity supplier, you may segment the market into retail and business. You may sort of segment business a little bit further, but fundamentally, if somebody's got a house, they need electricity, and that's all you need to know. You're not doing any real differentiation there at all. And the opposite of that is when you're segmenting on the basis of niches. So, for example, you may sort of segment men who do sports. Then it may be men who are fishermen, and then men who are fly fishermen, and then men who are fly fishermen who do not use carbon fibre rods at sea. Yeah. And you slowly segment it, and as you segment, you're getting a narrower audience who you can give a more and more focused value proposition to. Then you may have a segmented audience where you may say, okay, I'm looking at women, and every group of women, every segment, say that as they're going through their life cycle, they'll need slightly different products. So, for example, let's look at makeup. Teen makeup is slightly different to 20s makeup, which is slightly different to mum's makeup, which is slightly different to mature makeup, which is slightly different to seniors makeup. The actual physical product is the same in many ways, but how you market it, the story that you're trying to tell, the promise that you're making to each of those different audiences is quite different, because they use makeup differently at different points of their lives. They have very different priorities. And so you can have a segmented strategy like that. Alternatively, when you look at your customer base, you can see them as very diversified. So in some cases, I was talking with somebody yesterday, they're segmenting on the basis of health shop owners, people who like to do recycling, and there was another segment. And on the face of it, to me, that didn't make a lot of sense until we dug into what the value proposition was, and we saw that the value proposition applied to these very different segments quite effectively. The segments don't have much in common, but they are tied together by the promise, what you're offering to them. Finally, one of the things that we're looking at is the two-sided segment, where you need two very different types of customer together to make the business model work. So, for example, eBay is a two-sided market. You need the sellers and you need the buyers. And with Google, you need searchers and advertisers. With the Financial Times, you need readers and advertisers. Yes, there are lots of different two-sided markets like that, and understanding the two different types of segments in each case, or sometimes even three, is very, very important. So for each segment, there are a number of things that you need to bear in mind. Generally, each segment will need and require a different offer from you. Yeah, if you're offering the same thing to every single group of customers, have you really got one big segment that you're lumping in together? You need to be clear that if they are different, then you're almost certainly offering them a slightly different product or service in some way, shape or form. And different segments will often have different channels that you reach them by. So, for example, if you've got segments that are retail and industrial, retail, you will often have, say, shop fronts or an online e-commerce store, yeah, and you reach people like that. Whereas an industrial customer, quite often you will have sales teams, either an inside sales team or a field sales team going out and reaching the customer and reaching your industrial customers like that. And as a result of these different channels and because of the segment, you'll also tend to have different relationships with the customers. Luxury goods customers often require very high touch, very customized relationships where they're made to feel important, because one of the things about luxury goods is their high status, and part of high status is having people flocking around you, pampering you, making you feel good. On the other hand, low-value commodity goods often have a lot of automation with very, very low-touch relationships. And you see what this in the banking industry, slowly moving from the branch network with personal bankers to very much more automated online relationships, where it's rare that you have know the name of the person you do your banking with, or even meet the same person twice. You also need to think about the different profitability of different segments. I mean, it's one of the big mistakes that I often see with entrepreneurs, and they say, these are my segments, and that's fine, but they then don't think about what is the differing cost to reach each of those segments, how profitable are the segments in their own right. Can you sell a product to one group at a premium, or are you trying to sell it a product to another group as a commodity? You then need to ask the questions, okay, really, do I want to be working with the lowest margin segment at all? There may be good reasons to, but if you don't raise the question in your own mind and then make that decision, you can often be tying up lots of capital unnecessarily. And the final point on segments is that quite often people will be prepared to pay for different parts of the offer. We see this a lot in online products, where at the different tiers, people will pay for different sets of products and services. So the base, the bronze tier, you will get X, and then at the silver tier, you'll get that, plus better customer support, plus better this, plus better that, and plus these features, and then so on at ever higher levels. So be considerate of what do you actually need to offer for each of these segments for them to sort of really feel satisfied by the value that you're offering. So how to do it? Very much the way that I normally sit down and start with my customer segments is the very first iteration. I will put down the name of the segment. Usually I will do a 2 to 3 word name of the segment. This gets it out of my head. This gets it onto paper, and that's the initial first stage of clarity. Then there's a process behind that of going out and discovering, okay, what is this segment actually like? This goes into the marketing. They're thinking about the demographics, the characteristics about their age, where they live, how much they earn, their sex, all these sorts of things, and also the psychographics of what do they really believe, what motivates them, why are they doing what they're doing, what is the problem, how do they feel about the problem, and understanding that. Then go out and start talking to some people in the segment and understanding whether they will be a good fit for the value that you provide. And this helps validate your customer segments. And as with every other aspect of the business model, generally your first business model is a rough guess. As you go out, you get more information and you test it and you validate it, you'll get more and more confidence. One of my first companies, a steel trading company, we, I think, are on the 25th or 28th version of our business model canvas, having gone through multiple changes in both customers and in many other parts of the business as the market changed, as the environment changed, as our offering changed. And you should look at it in these ways too. So today in this lesson, we've gone through a number of things, and we've focused on who is your customer, yeah, and which customers are the most valuable to you. Almost anyone can be a customer, but who is going to be the best for you? Okay, now I hope you've enjoyed the lesson. Any questions that you've got, please send an email or ask them in the comments below, and also send us copies of your business model canvas, and it will be great to see them.